Yo, how's it going everybody? It's Sketch and welcome back to the channel. And alright, so we're looking at the demo for Outriders, an upcoming looter shooter from Square Enix and People Can Fly. And this is one of those instances where it's a combination of things that you've seen before with a dash of a little bit of stuff that's quite unique. But before getting into all that, let's get a look at the story real quick. Story-wise, you have an extinction level event and only a few were able to make it off the planet Earth and venture to the planet Enoch. And upon touchdown, it's apparent that the planet is not exactly the most habitable place. A cataclysmic system sweeps the planet and some humans either get fried, get sucked into some alternate dimension, and even fewer survive to become altered. The altered are essentially superpowered and use their abilities for good or evil, and the line is a bit thin as far as we can tell. That's about all you get in a nutshell without spoilers, but for what's there, it's interesting enough. As far as the gameplay, it feels like Destiny and Gears of War got thrown in a blender and bam, Outriders. It's a third-person shooter that has a lot of similarities to the aforementioned franchise, and it's honestly not too bad of a balance. Gunplay overall is decent, and after playing through the content the demo had, it's not bad. It's not bad. You get tons of weapons, some of which have abilities to stun, burn, and freeze enemies, along with your altered abilities that have 4 classes. The Pyromancer and the Techromancer were the ones I ended up running the most, and they both felt pretty powerful in most situations. Each class though had its pros and cons, and there were a few that I can tell were probably going to get reeled in once the full retail release comes out in April. The Techromancer had some absolutely nasty abilities off the rip that made that class devastating, and the Trickster class was also pretty fun to use too, with its Max Payne style bullet time ability. For a demo, there's actually a fair amount of stuff to do, with a good chunk of the story dialogue, a few areas of the map open, and a few main and side missions. The boss encounters were pretty cool for the most part, but again, it's nothing groundbreaking, especially if you played these kind of games before, but at a base, it's got some good stuff going on. Graphics wise, it looks pretty decent, and the gameplay itself also looks pretty solid and holds a pretty decent frame rate, though the cutscenes seem to be locked at 30 frames per second, and those bits can look a bit rough at times. Here's where you also see some weird clipping in the character models, but it doesn't happen as much in game, but the cutscenes may need a bit of work still, unless the frame locking was intentional for the sake of the demo. But if so, why not put your best forward when trying to sell your game, especially one that's yet to be released. Environments were also kind of a mixed bag. You'll have some arenas that are more on the cramped end and smaller rooms and indoor structures, and then you got the outdoor environments, which is where it gets a little bit more interesting. Parts of the environment and barriers are often destructible, which again is a nice touch. And aside from the way it looks and plays, you can definitely tell this is a game from People Can Fly, considering how similar to Gears of War it is. There's also the sound effects and dialogue, where again you can tell this is a People Can Fly game, since no one's exactly shy about throwing around some F-bombs, much like Bulletstorm, which was an awesome game too. Depending on the perspective, that's either gonna break the immersion for some or make you laugh with just how unenthused the main character sounds in most conversations featured in the demo. Effects wise though, this is pretty tight with some good gunfire and explosion sounds, so altogether it's alright, but again it's probably not going to be groundbreaking to most. It's also interesting that the Anthem insignia is a charm in the character creator, so I'm curious if there were some members of this project involved with that also, since the loading splash screens also look very similar to Anthem. I can tell it's going to be a more memorable experience than Anthem was, but at the same time that's really not the hardest act to top now, is it? Will this be a Destiny killer? Maybe not, but it's got potential to be a contender, or at least a good one to play on the side, depending on how you feel about it. Personally, after playing the demo a good bit, I'm not bummed on it, and I look forward to seeing how the rest of the game is going to be, since at a base coat, while it's not the most amazing thing ever, it still has enough to be interested in, so long as they have a in-game and a good amount of higher level activities and a decent amount of loot to grind for. Like, this could be a nice distraction, all things considered. Outriders releases on April 1st, and we'll see what they got in store for the full retail version soon enough. This has had a bit of a mixed reception so far, but I can tell you, if you're curious about this game at all, just check out the demo, and it'll help you make the decision if it's appealing to you or not. You know, I don't expect this to be the second coming of the looter shooter or cover-based shooters in general, but hopefully the retail build is a fun one to pick up and eviscerate some stuff while getting some cool gear from time to time in the process. So we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. We don't have to really wait too long. And I thank you again if you've made it this far into the video. If you find these videos helpful, that's awesome. I'm glad you can use it as a resource. Check back often. We'll have some more video commentaries and reviews coming up in the near future. So until then, stay safe out there, take it easy, and I'll see you on the next one.